Today's session is going to be on the listing basics and what it is to make sure that you're ready to list. So whether you're brand new to the concept of selling on Amazon, maybe you've attended one of our listing webinars before, but you haven't listed yet, or maybe you have listed a few products, this webinar will help you prepare for almost all the listing situations that you will come across. And we'll just go quickly through today's agenda to make sure that we're going through the pre-listing checklist. We'll also be tackling the common questions or common errors that you'll experience when you're listing and how to tackle them, how to continue your learning after this. And like I mentioned earlier, we will have that dedicated Q&A session at the end of today. So get those questions in. Once again, and for anybody that's joined, good morning and welcome to today's session. My name is Sasha and I am a new accounts manager for Amazon South Africa. I'm not only here to help you, but to help all of our wonderful selling partners ensure they are set up for success and that we're ready for the launch of Amazon South Africa. So let's get straight into it. If you take a look on the screen, this is basically your pre-listing checklist that you need to sort of keep on handy on the side whenever you're going through the listing journey. Obviously, the more you list, the more familiar you'll become with it, but it's always good to keep, let's call it a cheat sheet on the side. So it's always important to determine, first of all, if you can list in your chosen category to ensure that you can purchase your GS1 barcodes if you can, get your brand authorized, determine if your product already exists in the Amazon store, and also have your product information and your images on hand. So we're going to cover all of these topics in today's section. It's really, really very important to note, though, that we do have a couple of categories that you aren't currently able to list in. They may become available in the future, but currently the following product categories cannot be listed on amazon.co.za. This would be fashion, shoes, jewelry, luggage, large appliances, large furniture, groceries, and ingestibles, both anything humans can eat or pets, as well as alcoholic beverages. So if some or all of your products are in this category, these categories that I just mentioned now, for the time being, you won't be able to list. However, it's still important to begin this learning process and make sure that as soon as we do open up those categories, you're ready to list immediately. And after these sessions and all the webinars we have, you'll definitely become a pro in this. So you don't have to worry about everything. We've got you. So let's talk just a little bit and focus on barcodes, the purchasing of your GS1 barcodes, and how that whole process also works. A barcode is an external identifier used by Amazon to identify a product's information. The most common types of barcodes are EAN, GTIN or GTIN, if you've been to some of our other webinars, that's how we'll say it, and ISBN for books, but there are others as well. You can use any of these options provided that they are GS1 approved. This system is used by Amazon and is managed by an international organization called Global Standards 1 or GS1. GTINs or EANs ensure that the products are uniquely identified while being bought and sold, and they help sort and track items in transit. In all listing channels, your product ID or your GTIN indicates whether your product already exists in the Amazon catalog or whether it's a new listing. So very important to be able to identify your items. But there are a few cases in which a product ID is not required to create a product detail page. And in those cases, you'll actually apply for what we call a GTIN or product ID exemption extend, as you can see here on your screen. Requests for these exemptions, though, are analyzed on a case-by-case basis by Amazon's support team, which may or may not grant the exemption. So it's entirely on a case-by-case status. Maybe for one particular product, you will get an exemption, and then for others, you might not necessarily. But we do make sure that we focus on everything and ensure we're doing the best, both for you as well as for our customers. So here are the steps to request the exemption. The first step is to navigate to the search bar in Seller Central. If you'd like, you can open up a little tab during this webinar and see if you can follow along while I'm giving the instructions. So you navigate to the search bar in Seller Central that you can find right at the top of any page. And then just to also add, that little search bar is a great resource to have anytime you want to know anything or search anything. You can just plonk it in there, and all of the answers that relate to whatever that topic is that you're searching for will populate in front of you. So in that search bar, you'll type in GTIN exemption, and on the screen is a screenshot of the expected results. The first option is a video that I really recommend that you watch that will walk you through the process of applying for that exemption. And the second option is the help page that tells you what you will need to apply as well as the steps to do so. So very important. On this next slide over here, you'll actually see a screenshot of the help page itself. You'll scroll down to the bottom to where you see how to request a GTIN exemption. And then you will see what will be requested from you and all the steps to apply. So you don't need to stress. You don't need to try and zoom in on the screen and see what we're showing. You'll be able to follow all the steps there through Seller Central. But a really helpful tip for you guys: if you're asked to submit images of your product, make sure you submit real life images and not professional studio images. Submit photos from every single angle of the item as well, not just one or two sides. So take a look at the information, make sure whatever you're doing is according to the guide there. But if something is going a little bit wonky, don't worry, they will ask you for more information. Or like I said, you can reach out to us on our Seller University email address. So now let's take a look at some of the most common questions that are related to product IDs and GTIN. So the first one that you'll be able to see on your screen, mine is populated here on the side for me, is where do I get my product ID? So depending on the product you're listing, you might need to locate an existing barcode, which might already be on your product. You might need to obtain a new one or apply for an exemption. You can also purchase a GTIN or a product ID from GS1 at gs1.org. And you can either buy a singular one, you can buy it in batches. It's really very extensive and helpful. But if you're confused, like I said, reach out to us and we'll help you. The second question is, do I have to purchase my product IDs through GS1? So Amazon verifies the product IDs using the GS1 database. Product IDs that don't match the information provided by GS1 will be considered invalid. GS1 is a global organization dedicated to maintaining international business standards, and one of their functions is maintaining an international database. Many brands, manufacturers, and even Amazon sellers purchase product IDs from GS1, and we recommend obtaining your product IDs directly from them to ensure the appropriate information is reflected in the database. So use GS1 if you need to purchase your barcodes, and you shouldn't have any problems at all because it's like GS1 and Amazon are part of the same family. Next question, will each product variation have its own product ID? If a product comes in different sizes or colors, each version will need its own product ID. For example, a blue bag will have a different product ID than the same bag in red or any other different color. If all the variations shared one product ID, the customer would not be able to see the difference between the items and choose the best version for them. The detail pages would be exactly the same. So remember, while we're here to support you, at the end of the line, we always have to keep the end customer in mind to make sure that we're not only reducing your efforts, but we're reducing their efforts and ensuring an excellent customer experience. Question 4, what is the difference between a product ID or GTIN and an ASIN or an SKU? This is something that I didn't really know when I joined, so we're kind of learning together at the same time. So a GTIN or an EAN or product ID is different from a product's ASIN and SKU. While a GTIN is a registered, universally recognized product ID used across international trade, ASINs and SKUs, or SKUs, sometimes you'll hear us say, are Amazon and selling partner specific. An ASIN, or an Amazon Standard Identification Number, that's what it stands for, is an automatically assigned number used by Amazon to identify and track products in our catalog. An SKU, or SKU, or stock keeping unit, is a selling partner specific number that can be used internally to help you identify and track your inventory. While all three of these numbers help different groups identify, track, buy and sell products, only GTINs are universal, and they're the number you'll use most often to list products on Amazon. So I cannot stress enough how important GTINs are. Question 5, how do I apply for a GTIN exemption? So as mentioned previously, but just in case you've just joined, hello and welcome to our session. You can apply for your GTIN exemption as part of the creating a new product listing. However, if you'd like to deep dive into the specific topic, we recommend watching the Seller University video applying for product ID or GTIN exemption, or visiting the help page, how to list products that do not have a GTIN. And you can also take a look in this particular presentation that we have earlier on in the little chat at the bottom. There's a PDF, and it'll help you guide through to both the video as well as the help pages that are there. Perfect. So we've made it past the first checkpoint. Tick that box over there. Let's just confirm that we have now determined if we can list in the chosen category, as well as purchasing those GS1 barcodes and understanding GTIN exemptions. So next up, it's time to get your brand authorized. And this is very important because it's essential for you to determine if your product is branded or generic before you start the listing process. Knowing this particular information can definitely help the process go more smoothly. Branded products include the brand name or the logo on the packaging and often on the product itself, whereas unbranded or generic products aren't labeled or attributed to any brand. When adding a branded product, the name you enter in the brand name category or field in Seller Central should exactly match the name of the brand that the product that produced the product. So it can't be a derivative, a deviation, or abbreviation. It needs to match it exactly. Sometimes you may see an error code 5665 when you enter your brand name while listing the products. And if you find this, Amazon needs to approve your brand before you can use it to list products. So you see 5665, you know you need to reach out to Amazon to get that brand approval going. You can open a case with seller support for assistance with approving your brand. And if you own or manage a brand with a registered, active, or pending trademark, you can enroll in Amazon's brand registry for more control over your brand listings. This process takes a bit of time and must be completed before you list your process. But an important thing to remember and point out is it's absolutely free. You don't have to pay for brand registry or the authorization. It's just to make sure that your intellectual property and your brand is completely covered at no additional cost to you. You might also, though, be trying to sell a branded product for a brand that you don't own, but for which you have the distribution rights. In cases like this, you will be prompted to apply to sell while trying to list. So in those particular cases, you're going to have to apply for approval when you list your products that are branded, whether or not you're the brand owner. So you might be the brand owner or a reseller, but you'll be prompted by our particular system to apply for this approval if this is the particular case. If you are asked for an invoice, these are the requirements for the invoice that you can see here on your screen, and I'll read it for you. So the first point is that you need to upload at least one purchase invoice for products from a manufacturer or a distributor, and the documents must meet the following requirements. Let me even slow down a little bit to make sure that we're all on the same page. The invoice needs to be dated on or before a particular date, and it needs to be within 180 days of your application. So 3 months basically from when you apply before, 4 months, 181 days, 275, not going to work within 180 days. It needs to include your name and your address, matching the information in your selling account. So it can't be your brother or your sister, uncle, or any of those things. It needs to match the information that you've already provided to us. It also needs to include the name and the address of the manufacturer or the distributor. It needs to show the combined purchase of at least 10 units, not 9, not 5, 10 or more. You do have the ability to omit the pricing information. It's entirely up to you. You can simply cross it out or, take a nice little dark marker and pop it out there. But please note that Amazon may verify the submitted documentation by contacting product vendors you identify in your application. So just be very, very mindful of how you're applying and the information that you're providing to Amazon so that your brand application or authorization utilizing this invoice is not going to get denied. Right? Amazon requires everybody to provide all of this information to try and ensure that all of our selling partners are legally selling the products that they sell on the Amazon store and to improve the customer experience. So while you might feel like, oh, why are they doing this? You're blocking me from setting things up. We're trying to ensure both safety on your side so that in the future you don't come across any sort of copyright infringements or claims. And of course, like I mentioned before, making sure that the customer at the end of the day has a good experience because they know they're getting legitimate items, because there's nothing worse than coming back later down the line and there's an issue with an item. So we're very, very strict on this. Don't take it personally. It's just business. Right. So if in this case you have applied and you get prompted for a letter of authorization, it must meet the following requirements. And this might happen if you submit your invoice and then they need a little bit of information. So let's take a look at the screen again. So you need to upload at least one letter from the official brand authorizing your company to sell their products. It might be more, you might have 5 or 6 or whatever, but there needs to be at least one letter from the official brand. And that document must meet the following requirements. Again, dated on or after that 180 days, not 181, not 180.5, 180 days or less. It must include your name and address matching the information in your selling account, as well as include the name and address of the official brand. You would also have to contact or provide your contact information. So the email address, which would be the best email to contact you for questions if we need to follow up with you, or our brand registry team needs to follow up with you. And then it is optional to provide your phone number, and it might even be easier. You know, sometimes we get such an onslaught of emails, and I'm sure you're getting a lot of emails from Amazon as well as we get closer and closer to preparing for our launch day. So sometimes it's just best to, you know, pop your phone number in there, have a 5-minute conversation with somebody, as opposed to maybe you miss this email in the inbox and then the application lapses and you have to start all over again. But entirely up to you. To check the status of your application, you can navigate to the main menu in the Seller Central, which will be on your top left, little burger icon, or what you call it, club sandwich, as I like to say. And then you'd select Catalog and then view selling applications. If your application has been declined, you can contact seller support to explain your case and include your needed documentation and requirements. Seller support can always be found top right of Seller Central by clicking on the word help. So let's say in the instance you provide just invoice, it gets declined, but you know that you have letters of authorization that meet the requirements on the previous slide. Simply reply and say, here's further documentation to support my case. And then that would actually help in getting you across the line, or any other information that they might require from you. Right, so we've gotten through that. Let's talk a little bit more about generic products. And we understand that not everybody in the webinar, and of course not all of our selling partners, will be selling branded products or need to be registered as an authorized or an approved reseller. And thus you won't need to go through brand registry or authorization. Generic products, as you can see here on the screen, don't have a common name, logo, or an other name that labels a product or packaging. When adding these products as part of your listing journey, you'll just enter generic in the brand name field. So instead of writing Samsung or whatever the case may be, if it's generic, you just type in generic. However, if you do own your brand, we do recommend registering with brand registry before you list. The process of brand registry or registration does take a bit of time, but it gives you the most control over protecting the items that you sell. And further, registering with brand registry will also unlock brand protection and building tools. It will provide automated protections that use machine learning to prevent bad listings. It'll help you manage the accuracy of your listings. And like I said earlier, absolutely free, no additional charge. If you are a brand owner and have an active or pending trademark, then get started with brand registry now. Open up another tab, go click on the information there, go and find it and apply somewhere in the middle of this webinar. And if you are a brand owner and you don't have a trademark, you can still apply to sell under your brand name. We still recommend this over listing your product as generic, because if you own a brand or you're in the process of registering your brand and you first start to list your items as generic because you want to get started, and then eventually you do go through brand registry, you'll have to start the listing process all over again. You won't be able to link those brand to those generic ones. You'll just have to start from scratch. So while it might be a bit frustrating, rather do the brand registry first and then continue on your listing journey, because why would you want to do the same thing twice? Sometimes a little bit of patience goes a long way to setting you up for success. So to get started, you'd navigate to brands, build your brand in Seller Central main navigation on the left-hand side. Then you'd click view registered brands. For more in-depth information, we recommend the video Resolve Error 5665 that walks you through listing your brand both with and without a trademark, as well as generic products. The approval for branded products can take 14 days, 1-4. So if you know that this is something that you will need to do, start the process right now so that you can begin listing as soon as possible. We recommend applying for brand name approval even if you don't have a registered trademark. And while the process is longer at first, like I said, it's going to save you time later down the line. And you can complete this application during the listing process as well, prompted when you enter the brand name. One of the benefits of doing this is that later, when you get that trademark, you only need to contact seller support to sync your newly registered brand name with the existing listing. But like I said, if you listed it as generic, it can't later be synced to a registered brand, and you're going to have to start all the way from the beginning again. Right. So next checkpoint, we have reached it. We have been able to determine if you can list in the chosen category. We have spoken a little bit about purchasing those GS1 barcodes. And now we've sorted out whether or not you need that brand registry authorization or if you're selling generic products. Now, the next part of our journey is to determine if the product already exists in the Amazon store. The first thing that you'll want to consider is whether the product you want to add to your inventory is already listed in the Amazon store. And if it is, you won't be creating a new listing. Instead, you'll be matching your offer to an existing listing. If your product isn't already listed, of course, you'll need to create a new listing for your product, which will create a new product detail page. But Amazon is constantly working to improve its catalog. If you are trying to match a product on the Amazon store, but you're encountering an error or it's not coming up when you search for it, this means that it may not be on the Amazon ZA catalog yet. At this time, you are more than welcome to treat it as a new to Amazon product and list it from new. Right? So the first way you can list one at a time is through search and match. If the product you are registering already exists in our catalog, you only need to include your offer information, which would be the price, the stock, and the SKU or the SKU code. And you can start selling the item, taking advantage of the catalog information that's already available. The second way you can list one at a time is through creating a new product listing. And to create a new product listing on Amazon.co.za requires you to provide product information and images as per the Amazon style guides. If you're unsure of what these are, pop into Seller Central. Remember that search bar at the top, or you can even check the articles. It's all there for you. The final way to list is by listing your products in bulk. If you have loads of products and you want to list them in bulk, it is advisable to choose this bulk listing option to add the products on Amazon. This process takes more time in the beginning because obviously you need to load all of the information, but it's going to save you hours in the long run. Think about if you have 1,000 products, would you want to do them one by one, or would it just be easier to do this bulk upload and be like, there, take all my listings, right? So you can upload the products in bulk for both a new product ASIN or an already existing product ASIN. You can use the inventory file template to list your products that you can also find through Seller Central, or you can create a template to suit your specific requirements and list different types of products across multiple categories using one custom template. Once you have your barcodes, you have your brand authorization, you know which listing process you're going to use, you're still going to want to make sure you have all the information on hand that you need and you're ready to list. This will help streamline the process once you get started so that you do not have to stop and go searching for more information. So the most important fields to consider are your product titles, your product bullet points, your product dimensions, and your product images. Amazon requires a lot more information than you might be used to. Maybe you sell on other e-commerce platforms and you're like, this is a walk in the park. It's a little bit different with us. So we highly recommend watching the video Intro to Product Detail Pages for a high-level overview of what makes up our product detail pages. We also have many, many help pages available for you within Seller Central. So please make use of these to create the best quality product pages available. The more information you add and the higher quality page you create, the higher chance for visibility your product will have. Just imagine you're a customer and you're taking a look at all of these options for a particular product you want to buy. Maybe you're looking for some face wash, right? And then you search face wash in the search bar, and then everything populates. Are you going to click something that doesn't necessarily have, a high quality or high definition image, or maybe the naming of it, the title is a little bit wonky, or you're going to go for something that gives you all the explanations with all the photos of the item, how it works, the ingredients, the benefits, the effects. I don't know about you, but I pick option number 2. If you are a brand owner, you will also be able to create A+ content, which is additional content tools that enhance your product detail and brand pages. These can also help drive traffic and visibility. So throughout your selling journey, always think about not just maybe the things that you would be used to on other e-commerce platforms, but try and put yourself in the customer's shoes and think, if I were a customer, what are the things that I'd want to see? How would I want to take a look at it? What would separate my product from a competitor's, or what would help drive my traffic in there? And that's a good way to set yourself up for success. So we have now gone through our pre-listing checklist, and congratulations, we are ready to list. We did determine the categories. We spoke about the barcodes. We spoke about brand authorization and brand registry. We determined whether or not the product already existed, and we've got all of our product information and images on hand. So, ta-da! We are ready to start listing our products. So this next step that we're going to tackle, or the next agenda point, there we go. Sorry, the screen loaded a little bit slow on your side there, is the common errors and how to tackle them. Because we all get excited and we say, yes, we're ready to start listing. We start typing in the information, and then there's an error message. So let's talk a little bit about some of the common errors and how to tackle them. So on your screen, you'll also take a look at the steps to check your listing reports. You can always click on the catalog button, go to the add products via the upload page, locate the monitor upload status section, and click download your processing report button. It's always very good to keep an eye on everything that you have. Don't just, do it all at once and think, okay, I'm not going to take a look. Always make sure that the information is as up to date as possible, that your pricing is there. Check regularly your account health, and just keep yourself familiar with the process. Don't leave it sitting there dormant, because of course you want to stay on the pulse of what's going on with your seller account to put yourself in the best position to sell on Amazon South Africa. So Those error codes should be populating on your screen right there. So let's go through them one by one and explain them a little bit to give you some context. Don't stress at all. If you feel like I'm going a little bit fast or it's a lot of information, like I said, firstly, the information or this presentation is available below in the chat. All of these error codes, if you search for them on Seller Central, you'll be able to get more extensive information as to what they mean and how to resolve them. And like I mentioned at the beginning, and I think it is also in the chat, there is that link to our Seller University South Africa YouTube channel where you can watch all of our previous webinars. So, error 6041. This error occurs when your product fails to meet the requirements for the inclusion in the Amazon catalog. Legal and other considerations prevent Amazon from listing all types of products. If you believe that this error is unwarranted, please review your terms of your marketplace agreement of participation. The next set of errors that you might come across is 20003 and 20006, lots of zeros. These are image extension related codes. Make sure you follow the image guidelines and help pages. Still available in Seller Central for all the categories that we have. If you see this error, take a look at your images, take a look at the help page and see how you can best combat it. That error code that we mentioned earlier, 5665, when you see this error, like I mentioned before, this means that you need your brand name to be approved either by enrolling in brand registry or getting an exemption through the brand name authorization that we discussed earlier. The next one, just under your 5665, there is 6024. When you receive this error, this means that you appear to be submitting product data for a brand name for which sellers must obtain prior approval to list. To request approval to list products by this brand name, contact selling partner support and provide the following information. Number 1, the product type. Number 2, the brand name that you would like to list. And number 3, the URL on the manufacturer's website that lists you as an authorized seller of these products. The next error code you can see there on your screen is 8560. And there are 3 possible causes for this particular error. The first one could be an invalid value in the inventory template. So make sure that your product ID is correct. Check the character requirements. For example, UPCs have 12 digits, EANs have 13 digits, and ISBNs have 10. So check those requirements. The second thing that you can check is for conformity with industry standards using an online resource such as a UPC validation tool, and you can update your data and resubmit. The second particular reason that this could possibly give you this error is missing required fields in the inventory template. So make sure that all the required fields are completed. Use the correct inventory file template for your product category. Make sure that the category, which is the item type keyword field, is correct. And you can always see the product classifier tool or browse tree guide for help, as well as update your data and then resubmit that file. Or the last potential cause for this error could be that the product ID doesn't match any ASINs. So it's really important that you either fix that incorrect product ID or you create a new ASIN entirely. So check those character requirements, like we mentioned, for the UPCs, the EANs, and the ISBNs. Check the conformity with the industry standards using the online UPC validation tool. If you need to fix that incorrect product ID, fix it, update, resubmit the data. And if that product ID is not correct or it's new to the Amazon catalog, you have to create a new ASIN. Fill in all your required fields in your inventory template and resubmit. Hey, I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. That last little error code there on the screen that you can see is 8020. And the common reasons for invalid values could include the following. You potentially did not provide the required number of digits because you omitted the check digit. The check digit is the last digit in the string and is calculated based on the other digits in the string. You can verify or calculate your check digit using one of the many Universal Product Code, UPC, or EAN validators available all over the internet. Secondly, the check digit that you provided is not valid. That is still that last digit in the string digit calculated on all the other digits that are based in the string. And like we said, you can still use that universal product code, UPC, or EAN validator that is available. Or potentially you did not provide the required number of digits because your standard product ID begins with a 0, and Microsoft Excel, my favorite tool, removed that 0 after you entered it into your inventory file template. If this is the case, reformat that standard product ID column as text. So you would click on Format Cells before entering your standard product ID value. So that 0 is really very important. Potentially, you also could have specified the wrong product ID type. If so, make sure that you enter the correct product ID type. And just a nice little tip here for you is the good online tool, like I mentioned, for calculating that check digit for universal product code, UPC or EAN numbers, is maintained by EAN International at GS1. So that gs1.org site that I mentioned at the beginning that you can also purchase your barcodes for is a really, really very helpful resource for you to use. Right, so no matter where you are in Seller Central, on your homepage, in the help page, busy with something or other, say, for example, the Seller University landing page, you can always reach Seller support by clicking help in the top right. This will direct you to a contact form to raise a case. So while we're aware that we're covering everything in Seller Central, in Seller University, like we said, you can reach out to us. We always recommend that you click on that top right for help because Seller support has a little bit of a quicker turnaround time for assisting you. Maybe it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you can't figure out what you're doing with your listing and you need to reach out to somebody. Definitely reach out to Seller support. They'll help you get going on your way. If you can't find a particular answer, you've been stuck on the help pages, you're getting this random error code that wasn't mentioned in any of our webinars, reach out to them. They're dedicated to help you. But if you're still not finding any joy, you can always feel free to reach us in the link at the bottom, Seller University ZA at Amazon.com. You can always pop us an email. No stress at all. In this video that will now populate on your screen, bloom, there it is, you can see how to find Seller University in Seller Central. You can, and I highly suggest that you bookmark it for easier access as well. To find Seller University, you will click on the hamburger or our little club sandwich there on the top left. Then you'll click Learn and then Seller University. There you can browse all our currently available learning resources, including these recommended videos that are linked here. Don't worry if you're clicking on your screen and nothing's loading. Just check down in the chat again. There's a PDF and all of the links that you're seeing here on your screen or there on your screen. You'll be able to click on and definitely bookmark them. You might not need them today, but you'll definitely need them in the future. You can also navigate to our webinars page to browse all of our upcoming webinars. So we recommend visiting this page frequently, the webinars page, as you may not be notified about all webinars via email in the future, or maybe you miss one of the SMSs that we're sending, and there may be one like this one today that you really don't want to miss. Right. Let's get to the juicy bits of today's session, our Q&A. Take a nice little breather. I hope you've gotten all your questions in the chat. Don't stress if you haven't necessarily received an answer. We're going to take a look now and see what is going on, what our trending questions are. If you feel like, I have a question that I'd really like to ask, it wasn't covered today by Sasha in the session and it's making my chest really burn, now is the chance to plonk it in here. We do have a little bit of time left, but like I said, reach out to Seller support, check those articles, use that search bar, check out our YouTube channel, and if all else fails, pop us an email and we'll definitely help you. So let's go and take a look and see what our guardian angels have been busy with there, our wonderful moderators in the chat, to see what trending questions that they have pulled up for us that we can all learn with. Right, so let's take a look here. Okay, where do you find the link to follow along? This is an excellent question. You can find all the upcoming webinars on our webinar page in Sal Essential, and be sure, like I just said, to visit it regularly. In fact, do everything regularly. If you are an insomniac and you can't fall asleep at night, you can always go and check Sal Essential and be like, let me just make sure all of the things are sorted. And especially keep checking our upcoming webinars on that page, because we're trying not to spam you with too much information. Yes, we're building up to the launch. Yes, we're trying to get you ready and set up for success, but we also don't want to be, filling up your inbox with all this information and then leading to you maybe not reading a particular email because you say, it's just another one from Amazon, and boom, that was the one topic that you needed help for. So bookmark that webinar page, pre-register for any of the webinars that you think you want to come to, pop into the webinars, make sure that you're asking your questions to our wonderful moderators. We're obviously here to help you. And I think the webinar link is in the chat, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it should be there. And if it isn't, one of our little guardian angels will pop it in there. But what a good question that was. Very interesting. This next question is desktop computers are missing, and this sort of sounds like it's a product type related concern. As mentioned already earlier in the webinar, maybe you missed it, but it's totally okay. We can cover it now. This is what the Q&A section is for. Amazon is constantly working to improve its catalog. However, if the exact product type is unavailable, then please move over to the next best match. So as long as you're making sure that the items that you're listing are items that you are able to list with. I did mention a couple of those categories that we aren't listing at this particular time, such as the large appliances and large furniture, jewelry, and consumables for both pets and humans, as well as a couple of others as well. If you do have something that you are able to list and you can't find the correct kind of tree, let's call it, just move over to the next best match. The most important two considerations that you need to follow in this regard are ensure you're listing in an allowed category, so there's no lock next to that little category, and ensure that it is in fact the next best match, not like a pillow, for example, if you're listing batteries, because the product attributes asked when listing are specific to your particular product type. So you can't click on pillow if you're listing batteries, because then it's going to ask you, is it alkaline? Is it this? Is it that, or whatever? And I don't know about you, but I haven't ever needed to put batteries in my pillow. So you're going to struggle to successfully list if you select a product type in a completely different category. So in the case of the computers, going back to the desktop computers section, or question rather, sorry, the overarching category is electronics, which is a launched category, so you shouldn't have a problem. So in this particular case, you would start with electronics. You'd go to computers, components, and accessories, and then you could select monitors. And if anybody here in today's session is facing a similar issue and you're unsure if listing is allowed in the category, then we recommend looking at the referral fee schedule, and you can search for this using that search bar I mentioned at the top of the Sal Essential on the sal.amazon.com/South-Africa page to see a list of the currently launched categories. So that's sal.amazon.com/ I don't know how you're seeing it on your camera, but it's that forward one that leans this way, South-Africa. Provided you are listing in an allowed category, navigate down to the best product type. And if there is a lock, like I mentioned, unfortunately, you can't list in that product type yet. Amazon is constantly working to improve the catalog. So if we launch one that better matches your item at a later stage, provided you are in the correct category, let's say, for example, the pillow and the batteries, okay, maybe that's a bad example. What we will do, or the Amazon system will do, is it will determine that, okay, this product actually matches this category better, and it will work to reclassify it. So don't stress. If it's not exactly right, internally, we'll work to make sure that it's all sorted. Let's take a look at the next question. If I have barcodes from Takealot listings, will these be valid? Very good question. To answer this short and sweet, no, The Takealot barcodes would be the Takealot equivalent to an Amazon ASIN, which is not the same as a barcode or product ID. So remember that ASIN that's specific to Amazon, Takealot would have its own, so they're not really speaking the same language. It's not even apples and oranges, it's apples and a can of pilchards, for lack of a better term. So to go over the difference between an ASIN and a barcode again, a GTIN or an EAN or product ID is different from a product's ASIN and SKU or SKU, while a GTIN is a registered, universally recognized product ID used across international trade. ASINs and SKUs are Amazon and selling partner specific. An ASIN or Amazon Standard Identification Number is an automatically assigned number used by Amazon to identify and track products in our catalog. Only GTINs are universal, and they're the number you'll use most often to list products on Amazon. If you do have a product with a barcode already on it, however, and you want to be super sure that the barcode is GS1 or not GS1 approved, GS1, as we mentioned before, does have a barcode verification tool on their website. The website's super easy to find. G for golf, S for Sasha, 1, the number, .org. All right, next question. We still have a wee bit of time left. Good day. Good day to you. Very polite. What happens if some of my products are my own brand and if some are not under my brand generic? Will I be able to have a shop within Amazon with my brand? Yes, you can definitely do so. And you can have multiple brands under one selling account. And if you are registered through Brand Registry, you will have access to A+ content, which includes the ability to create that brand storefront for every brand you have in Brand Registry. For the items that are not part of that brand, they will not appear on that storefront, but you can still sell them and manage your account. And remember, Brand Registry is completely free and comes with a whole bunch of tools to help you uplift and enhance that whole experience, especially for your customer or for our customer. Right. Ooh, this is a lovely question. I have a brand authorized in the USA. I requested access to the brand. Will I be able to create a brand page with South Africa, or will I need to trademark the brand here? I would like to access A+. You should be able to give yourself permissions using your Brand Registry account to your ZA1. And here are the steps. Let me slow down a little bit here for you. All you have to do is log into your Brand Registry account, click on Manage in the top left, click Manage Selling Accounts, click Connect a selling account to add your ZA account to the brand, and make sure to use that merchant token from your ZA account, which you can find in your account settings under your account info and business info, and making sure that you log into the correct ZA account when prompted. You can also add a ZA account as an admin and rights owner for the brand. This is done via Brand Registry's homepage. All right, user permissions, invite a user to your brand. In this way, if the first option for any reason takes time or fails, the second options work as a fallback. We recommend doing both of these steps. Once this is complete, the brand ownership rights will carry through to your ZA selling account. Right? A wee little bit of time, and it looks like we got one more question that's come in. So let's do this, and then we can do a nice little wrap up and enjoy our Friday and weekend, although it doesn't look like the weather's going to be good. Right. How do we price our items? Is there a calculator when listing items so we can see exactly how much will be charged? Great question. Let's take a look here and see. There we go. So there is on your Seller Central calculator when you're listing your items, so you can see what you are going to be charged, which will give you a sort of estimated costs. There is a link to it on the sell.amazon.com/South-Africa page under what it costs section. Alternatively, you can search for the revenue calculator in that top search bar that we mentioned, that golden search bar at the top in Seller Central. The help page has a link to the calculator and explains how it works. Note, however, this calculator is focused on FBA versus complete self-ship. However, with Amazon.co.za, most sellers who do not choose FBA will be defaulted to Amazon Easy Ship. So make sure you're taking a look also at your fulfillment options when you're creating your listings. Make sure that you attend our webinars on Easy Ship. You can also watch our previous one on that YouTube channel we mentioned, link down below, or read our help pages to fully understand how Easy Ship works, as well as things like handling times, which is automated or automatically set to 1 day. And that looks like we have about covered it today. You can give yourself a round of applause or a pat on the back. You've made it through our pre-listing checklist. But before we go any further, or before you drop off, there's one very important thing that we'd like to ask for you, or I'd like to ask for you, is to complete a quick survey that should be populating on your screens here. Right? Perfect. You can take a look. Maybe if there's a question or two that will come through before we end up, then we're happy to answer it. But please definitely answer this little survey here. It not only gives us a good reflection of the work that we're doing, but it helps improve our webinars moving forward. Make sure that the topics are relevant, make sure that we're giving you what you definitely need. And obviously that team of moderators and everybody that works very hard to create these webinars and the educational content for you, utilize all of this information. There should also be a little like free text box in there. So if there's anything else that you want to add that you'd like for us to take a look at and see, please feel free. But please leave us your reviews. And one little question has squeezed in at the end. So if not, why not? What can I do if I listed the products as generic, although it's my brand? Unfortunately, if you list the product as generic and then you want to list under a brand name later, you are going to need to list the product again from scratch. So if you've already listed it as generic, you could leave it like that. But if you do want it to be put under your brand and you're going through that brand registration process, you're going to have to go all the way from the beginning again. Where you do not have a trademark, we do recommend listing as an unauthorized brand first, because then at least when you do this, you can later merge to an ASIN or merge that ASIN to the brand registry account using seller support. So remember that 5665 error code that I mentioned. Please watch that video. In that little search bar, you can actually plunk that number in there. The video's there. There's the guide and everything that you need. Thank you very much, everybody, from joining in, whether you're here in South Africa, in Cape Town, where I'm currently situated, maybe you're calling in from abroad, whether you're at home, whether you're at work. Thank you very much for taking the time to join me today for this particular session.